All right, guys, if you like Bandit signs, today is the episode for you. But if you don't, and you like subject to deals, today is the episode for you. But if you don't like Bandit signs or subject to deals, but you like real estate, today's episode is for you because our guest is an expert, been doing this for 20 years in the single family field. He's going to talk about how to get deals done, some unique, creative ways. And I'm excited to have him on our next episode of the Investor Army podcast. Let me introduce you to our guest, Mr. BanditSigns.com himself, David Alexander.
Man, I love that intro.
Oh, yeah?
Well, how you doing, Connor?
I'm doing good. I'm glad you could come on here. I know you're busy. You're headed up there to Oklahoma, guys. We got him in the car. He's going up to pick up some sweet deals. Maybe he'll tell us a little bit about those. But kind of introduce yourself, David, to let people know who you are. And I know that a lot of wholesalers listen to our podcast here, and Bandit signs are a way that they get a lot of deals. And I think you know a little bit about Bandit signs, don't you?
Just a thing or two.
Just a little bit.
Spot here and there. Yeah. I'll put about 600 of them out a week on a typical week.
So from can you hear me there? You have a lag or? Okay.
Yeah, it's a lag. Go ahead.
Yeah, we may have a little bit of lag here because, guys, he's in the car, but this is the only time we could get him, so let's take advantage of it. So he actually started BanditSigns.com, I guess, about 16 years ago, and back then, not many people were doing that, so I'm sure you basically scooping up deals left and right, huh?
It was crazy. Back then, you actually could put out like 100 Bandit signs, and you would expect about a deal and a quarter to a deal and a half from every 100.
Wow.
Yeah, it was insane. And now wholesalers is a little bit different. Wholesalers, you would expect a wholesale deal about every 250. And now the numbers have changed. They're still worthwhile, though. They still pay off, but the numbers have changed. They're in an area where there's a lot of Bandit signs still going out. You're probably going to be in the neighborhood of about a deal per 300 Bandit signs. Wholesalers is probably going to be, for that special wholesale deal, is probably going to be closer to about 400, somewhere in that range. 400, 425, something like that. But it's still the bang for the buck. It's hard to beat it, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's still really, really good because I mean you figure $1 to $2 a sign, then $1 to put them out, or however everyone's business is a little bit different. But so you're basically spending $1,500 to $2,000 to get a deal, and if your average wholesale deal is $10,000, like it is in our market, you're getting a 4-5x return, right? So it's pretty good.
Yep, it's really good.
Yeah, it's really good. So how do you kind of give some of these new wholesalers kind of your process? Because obviously you're not putting these out yourself. I think that's where a lot of people fail to scale is that they try to put them out on their own and realize it takes some time to go put out signs. I did it when I started, and it takes some time to go put out 20, 30 signs. It's not just real easy. So what's a good strategy for them to kind of jump in and scale their business quickly?
Well, if they're wanting to scale or whatever, then the first level of it is become the driver. So become the driver, figure out, and you want to figure out probably, I would say you want to figure out about 5 areas where you can get about 40 to 50 signs out. You know, minimum of 30 to 35, but probably 40 to 50 is a good place. And you find 5 areas, okay? And the reason why you find 5 areas is because you're going to round robin, you're going to rotate. So you're not going to put, if you keep bombarding one area with 50 or 100 signs every week, eventually they're going to start disappearing so fast.
Yep.
And code enforcement is going to be on your tail so much that you're just not going to have any productivity left. So you gotta first deal is to find your territories and figure out, like I said, 4 or 5, even 6 territories. And what I was doing back when I first started, we kept 100 signs out religiously every week, no matter what. I think like the year we tracked it, we did I think it was 47 out of 52 weeks. That we put signs out. That was way back in like 2001.
Yep.
2001. And so when we did that, we scaled up and we had, and I remember the equity number. I don't remember the total gross in houses we had. We had 72 or 73, but the equity was like 2.1 million that we picked up that year. So, I mean, the numbers are staggering. Whenever we did that, though, we actually had a guy that we paid back then. We paid him $1.25 a sign to put them out, and he handled everything. And so that was the first way I learned how to do it. I pay somebody per sign. Nowadays, I pay $50. I started paying $1.50 when gas went up. Gas has come back down, and I just never changed it. But for somebody to go put out signs at $1.50, they will usually do it. Now, they're going to burn out probably after 2 or 3 weeks, but never give them more than about 50 signs. But that's why you have to learn your territory first. So if you learn your territory first, then you can tell them where to put them out, get them going, and before they do them on their own, you turn around and you drive them around. So you're going to be able to get about 20 to 30 signs out an hour on a typical deal in a typical territory. So the only lag you have is between territories. So if you can get out about 20 signs an area, well, that guy that's making $1.50 a sign when he's doing it on his own, he's going to be making, by the time he puts them together himself and all that kind of stuff, and buys them, he's going to be making about $1.50 a deal on the signs.
Yeah.
$1.50, about $15 an hour. I'm sorry. Maybe upwards to $20 an hour. So he's going to make good money, and for that kind of money, he's probably not going to go anywhere a whole lot. He's going to ask you for more signs. But again, it is work, and you got to find a guy that, once you turn them loose on their own, they got to have their own reliable transportation. There's even an app out there for flyers, and I don't know the name of the app. I should know it, but I don't. But you can probably search for flyer marketing apps, and there's one out there where flyers and door hangers, where people, door hanger marketing, I'm sorry, where door hangers use the app to GPS where the door hangers are going, where their door hanger people are going.
Yep.
And you can use that for Bandit signs. And I know Larry Goins was working on an app for Bandit signs too. You'd think the guys at banditsigns.com would be smart enough to go ahead and do that, but
well,
we leave it to smart people. We just put outside. And so the first deal, okay, that's the first segment. The first segment is you drive your territory, figure out your territory. You get your then you take your guy, your would-be guy that's going to put them out. You train in the territory. He goes and does it. Now, from there, you go to $1.50 a sign. So the cost at the beginning is going to cost you a little more. But in business, you're always trying to drive the cost down.
Yep.
So the next step after that, what you do is you turn around and you move that guy to a driver, or you hire another driver and you teach them your territory. And now you pay one guy a certain hourly amount, or you lower the amount. Remember, they're going to burn out fast. So you're going to have to get another guy. I'm just letting you know straight out. They're going to burn out fast. Every 3 to 6 weeks, you got to get a new guy. But your drivers won't burn out. So your drivers for the territory, for the part-time work, you pay them well. Like $12 an hour, because they're only going to be out, on a Friday night. You're going to hire them out if they're putting out 200 signs even. Well, that's going to be 10 hours. Start them at about 3 o'clock, and they're going to work till about 1 o'clock in the morning. They have a lunch break or something in there or whatever. But even then, that's $120, and then you pay the other guy to jump out, and you can either pay him by the piece of the sign, or just pay him an hourly rate as well. And I suggest an hourly. So I've been having real good success with paying about $22 an hour, and that's about what it costs anyway.
Yep.
So if you got a good crew and they're getting you an average of about 25 signs out an hour, you're doing good.
Yep. So
and you get that many signs out every week, and life's good. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's some really good advice for new wholesalers. Is there any unique strategy that you're using as far as placement? Are you putting them on busy roads? Are you putting them inside the subdivisions on vacant properties, or anything that you think increases your likelihood of getting a higher ROI?
Bandit signs are about eyeballs.
Yep. So
the higher visibility you can get, the better. And what happens is, basically what I do is I cover every Walmart there is. I cover every exit, every entrance to every Walmart there is. I don't leave Walmarts untouched. If there are 3 Walmarts in my area, all 3 Walmarts have Bandit signs every weekend. And that's private property, so that's even a bonus.
Yep.
You're trying to get them, the more you can get them on private property in high visible areas, the better. Like corner gas stations will often, you can be back enough from the forecorner from a major intersection, but they'll be on private property. I'm down in Ellis County, and you'll see my signs, and I've got some set up off. The other things that I love drive-thrus. Whataburgers and Chick-fil-A's have so much traffic. Chick-fil-A's especially. Now, Chick-fil-A hates signs. I get calls from night and day. But here's the trick: when you get called by code enforcement or you get called by people about signs, just tell them that you hired a marketing company to put them out, and you'll let them know. Don't get into a confrontation with them. Don't argue with them. You're not going to win. They're going to start threatening you with fines and all that kind of stuff. Just, you know what? I hired the marketing company, and I'll let them know.
Yep.
And just do it. The other thing we use is I use a website called Lumber.com. I used to use Ring Central, but nowadays I use Lumber and for my phone numbers. Phone numbers on that website are, I think your entry fee is like $9.95 and you get 2 phone numbers. But after that, it's like $4 a phone number. At any given time in my business, I've probably got about, I think close to 20 numbers running for different things. You know, I've got 6 or 7 people out there working for me doing marketing, and I've got and I may test one marketing for one type of marketing, another marketing for deal. You know, we do some mini billboard marketing, if you will. We find special locations, and here's a tip. We find locations where we can trade off, where somebody has a location where they can hold up either a 4x4 or a 4x8 sign, and we offer to give them a sign in exchange for us letting us put a sign there.
Okay.
So they get a 4x8 sign, and we we put our 4x8 sign there too. So, and the cost of that is we sell those 4x8s and Bandit signs for like $99. So for $200, you know, plus the cost to put it up for them, you know, some wood and some hammer and nail skills, you can get you a high traffic area with a mini billboard.
Yep.
So we do a lot of that. So those are some other things. But the biggest deal is try to find you some places. Try to get the Bandit signs off in high traffic visibilities, every intersection, every major convenience store, everything. The restaurants, and then also find some areas where they're kind of pulled back a little bit, where getting out of the car and walking to it to grab it is just a little more cumbersome.
Yep.
And then my biggest suggestion, and I if you're local in Dallas, we carry them in stock. If you're in any other state, then you'd have to find a source for them or whatever, Home Depot or Lowe's, whatever. But we actually get our wood stakes from a better source, because the Home Depot and Lowe's stakes, I mean, they absolutely suck.
Yep.
They're horrible. So we buy our wood stakes, and then we buy them wholesale, and we actually carry them in stock at Bandit signs. If you're local, and you can pick them up. But you're going to use a 1x2 by 36-inch stake, wood stake, and you're going to put them on the stake and hammer in the ground. I don't put my signs on telephone poles like other people teach. I've learned that just pisses off the world. So unless you're like in a high rural area, and if you are anyway, the signs are going to stay forever. You're not getting that much traffic on them.
Yep.
They're about eyeballs. If you can get 6,000, 10,000 eyeballs on your Bandit sign for 2 or 3 days, you're going to pick up some calls.
Yep.
That's magic, man. That's it.
Bandit signs work. We get deals off them every year, guys. Okay, you've been doing this for so long. I'm sure you've split tested all sorts of different verbiage on there and different colors. And you know, what is it? What's your expert opinion on what a new wholesaler should be putting out, as far as, you know, basically the wording on there?
It has it's completely changed. It used to be. I have 2 signs I use right now. I use one on a white piece of plastic. And that one's been working, and it looks handwritten, and it knocks off the We Buy Houses Homevester guys. It wasn't intentional. It turned out it looks very similar to that sign. And so that particular sign says something like, sell your house, close fast, yada, yada, yada. So I use the sell your house verbiage is what I use. I don't use the We Buy verbiage.
Okay.
And then I have another sign that's red and black on yellow, and I don't mind, Connor, when we're done with this, I don't mind sending those over to you if you have somewhere to post them.
Yeah, we can put them below, and we'll put links to your website as well, guys, because you can actually buy your Bandit signs directly from David at banditsigns.com. So we'll put links to that below the video.
But the main deal is believe it or not, for buying, and I've been against this for years, and then I started testing it recently, and it used to be that a professional buying sign pulled, and they don't, now it's handwritten. The handwritten look pulls for whatever reason. So, even if the guys just want to buy plastic, we sell that too, and they want to handwrite them. I don't know why. It's not worth your time to sit there and handwrite them with a marker. But if that's what people need to do to get started, then then albeit. But they need to get out of that as fast as they can. I learned a long time ago from my mentors at the very beginning. Don't work, don't work for what you can afford to pay somebody.
Yep.
And my mentors at the beginning, what they would tell me literally, Dave, if you can't afford to buy you some signs, go get you a doggone job and do that. Do whatever skill you're best at the moment. If that's flipping burgers, it's flipping burgers. If that's doing something on the computer, then do it on the computer. Whatever it is to make enough money to invest in yourself, in your marketing, and then take that money and do it. And that, when I say invest in marketing, I don't mean invest. I mean invest in the whole deal. You got enough money to pay the guy to put them out. You got enough money to do the deal, because marketing's your first investment. And so that's what my mentors taught me. They said never work for below what you want to make an hour.
Yep.
So if you want to make $200 an hour, then everybody else below that, you got to pay them.
Yep. That's good advice. Okay. So let's transition into something that you're an expert on here. So you have a special way of doing subject to deals, right? You call it your S3?
Sub 3, yep.
Sub 3. Let's kind of dig into that for people, because a lot of new wholesalers, they're using bandit signs to get deals, but they're wholesaling because they haven't transitioned to the ability to basically arrange funding or buy houses or get credit lines or whatever they're doing. So they're also interested in subject to deals, because this is a great way for them to get into some passive income cheaply. And let's kind of go into this topic here a little bit.
Okay. So what happened was, when I very first got started, I didn't want to be in the house business. I wanted to be in the note business.
Yep.
So crazily, I literally, up until probably 2 years ago, I'd only wholesaled 3 houses in my entire career. 3 houses, that was it. Now, the last, lately I've been buying so many, and some of them in areas that I just didn't want to touch.
Yeah.
And then I wholesaled those off, and I had, like one house I went to, I had a rent house in an area that I didn't want, and a friend of mine was with me, he said, I want it. And I said, okay, cool. We left the house. He went through it with me. He told me how much he'd pay. And he told me he'd pay $21,000. I went back. I negotiated the contract for $13,000 plus $3,000 in taxes. And then I told him to write me a check for $6,000. He goes, man, why? I said, well, you told me you paid $21,000 for it. Oh man, you're getting it for 18. I'm sorry, 15. I said, well, what do you think's fair? He goes, let me write you a $3,000 check. I said, fine, whatever. Write me a $3,000 check. And that was it. That was the end of my deal. And I handed him my contract and signed it literally. It took me, I was in it 10 minutes, Yeah. So I don't do a lot of wholesale, because for me, quite frankly, there's more profit in going ahead and doing the deal, being the principal yourself.
Yep.
So now this market's a little different, because you wholesalers are making some stupid money wholesaling right now. So I ain't gonna laugh at you. Back in my day, wholesaling, thousand life was good. Some I've seen some people wholesaling right now, and they're making 10, 15, 30,000 on deals. It's just insane. But what I do basically is, in the beginning, I found out that I didn't have enough cash to take on every deal there was. And because of that, and people may know this, but y'all may not, a guy named John D'Angelo, it seemed like every appointment I went to, he was there. Well, Ken D'Angelo is the guy that started Homevestors, to give you an idea. Okay. So John D'Angelo, deep pockets and a lot of money behind him. And every time I went to an appointment, he was right beside me. Consequently, is why I started using bandit signs, because here's another tip too. Don't put your bandit signs on the same corner as somebody else. That's just stupid. Put your bandit signs on a corner. If somebody's got that corner that weekend, my God, there's so much area in Dallas, go put them on a different corner. Yep. You can't do it every weekend. And so, because let them be the only guy that week. If you really want to be that hardcore and competing, so be it. But there's so much space. We're in Texas, for God's sakes. Somebody has an area, I don't pull their sign. I let it be for a week or two, then I go and put mine. It lets them know they're house buyers out there. But they're competition free, because they're only got your number. All right, sorry, segued. But so back to the other, because I was coming across John D'Angelo every time, he could pay more cash than I could. I had to figure out a way to buy houses that he wouldn't. And what that meant is that most of the big guys that are wholesaling, when you're wholesaling, you're trying to buy those houses at, it used to be 50, 60 cents on the dollar, 65 cents maybe minus repairs. Now I think that number's starting to etch up a little bit.
Yep.
But that was the thing. So what would happen, my average purchase price became about 73 cents on the dollar. But it was for buying by leaving the loans in place. So I had to learn to switcheroo. I had to learn to go talk to sellers and start finding out what their problems were as opposed to hitting them with a cash offer. See, most people make the mistake and I can offer you $62,000. I don't make offers. I quit making offers. I go to appointments. This house I'm headed to for Oklahoma right now, I haven't done any deals up there, and I don't have anybody up there right now. And I'm wanting to build a small portfolio up there in this area that I've targeted. And so I'm actually on my way. In fact, there's actually two appointments I've got. But I'm on my way, and the guy just wants out of the house, which is particularly great because he's current on his payments. He just wants to be done. I haven't talked to him about subject to yet. I don't talk to him about that on the phone. That's for the mono talk.
Yep.
In the old days I did, but whenever you've got too much money and whatever, you can screen harder. I think one of the biggest things that, my opinion, that some gurus teach is they want you to screen everything on the phone. And the problem is on the phone, that customer wants to hold it close to his chest and he wants to play tough. And, when you get there and you're in their face and all of a sudden they start bawling and you realize, okay, they got a problem and I need to help them solve it, And ultimately we're there to solve their problem and we just get paid really well for doing that. And so I'm on my way to Oklahoma and I'm going up there, but the guy told me on the phone, he said, man, I'm not going to make another single payment. And I said, so you're just done. He said, man, I'm just done. Okay, well, that's all I got to hear. I'm done. That's motivation there. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So that's set up for me going and doing one of my, what I call sub 3. And I'll go into that, what it is here in a minute. So then I'll go have the conversation, and it's similar to a sub 2 conversation or whatever. And I'll have the conversation about buying his house and how we're going to do it and get it done and about leaving the loan in place. And that's what sub 2 is, guys. You're learning how to get the sellers to leave their financing in place. So then you have more exits on what you want to do. I picked up a house in Garland that this one I'm going to actually flip. And I don't flip many houses, but the people, I just wired $40,000 this morning, $41,000 this morning to buy the house for the people. They're overnighting me the deed. And there's a balance of like $78,000 on the house. So I paid $118 for it, and I'm fixing to turn around and I'm going to flip it off into the market, and I'll either owner finance it for $175 or flip it off for cash for a little bit lower than that. But I always do my marketing in most cases with owner financing and let the cash people come beat me up.
Yep. Because
my owner financing price is higher, but it's usually below market a little bit because I want my houses to be gone. But this guy didn't want his loan in place, so what will happen is even if I end up owner financing, if somebody did come along, well, then I would just sell off my note.
Yep.
And to get my cash back out of it. So that's how that works. But the sub 2 deal, you're wanting to get them to leave the loan in place. You have the conversation with them about it. They leave the financing in place, and now you have exits. In Texas, we used to be able to do the lease options. We can't do that anymore. So now you can do you can do a lease. Well, you can do them for 6 months. Let me rephrase that. But you don't really want to do it beyond that. You can rent them. You can hold them as a long-term rental. I don't suggest you become a landlord, in my opinion, straight out of being a wholesaler, only because I've been there, done that, made that mistake, unless you're very good at managing the details. I mean, there's two kinds of entrepreneurs out there. There's the entrepreneurial side where you're ADD like hell. That would be me. I've got 45 balloons in the air, and I'm trying to pop 48. At all. And on a good day, I try to get at least a third of them popped, but before more come in. And then there's the other type of entrepreneur who's very methodical, and you have to be that very methodical type person, and you're going to be like methodically doing it little by little if you're going to do a rental portfolio. Because a rental portfolio, the problem is when you buy them and you start renting them, you're losing the biggest profit center, in my opinion, that you have. Because when you go out here and you buy a house for 60 cents on the dollar, so you buy a house for $60,000, it's worth $100, and now you turn around and you hold it long-term rent, and you spend the next 20 years paying off the $60,000. That's just not good. I mean, all of a sudden you look up and 3 years from now you still owe $55,000. Even you were cash flowing. I had some years ago, and they were cash flowing $500 a month. But then all of a sudden taxes go up, insurance goes up. But I paid little down in my equity, had very little appreciation because it was a stable neighborhood, but I had no more cash flow left. Section 8 wasn't paying as much cash flow anymore. They were paying the same amount, but tax and insurance went up and were eating up the in-between. I was getting the squeeze. And it was like a bad poker game. You made the play in the wrong place. And so I learned. So what I do now is I owner finance. Everything I do, 98% of my business model is I owner finance out. I trap in my equity, and then I work on getting the people to refinance. And the reason why I do that is because you go from your goal in investing is go from cash asset to cash. So cash asset to cash. And the biggest mistake that I teach my students that I've made is that in my investing career, what I didn't do are two things. I didn't deleverage when I should have, and I didn't trade up into bigger assets. I have some commercial real estate, but I should have 4 times as much because I should have traded up more cash and deleveraged more. I did all the wrong things. The economy hit most people in 2008, didn't hit me till 2010. I had stupid money. Nobody feels sorry for me now with the money I have, but I feel sorry for myself. But I want it back and more. But this time when I make it all, I'll keep every dime. What I have to say about that is, had I made some of the right moves, trading up asset classes into bigger assets, which is the trick, the monopoly game has it right, buy 4 greenhouses and trade them into a hotel, that's the right play. Whereas a lot of people want to buy and they want to own more and more and more single family. And that's not the right play. Because eventually the market moves and your house is no longer appreciated. Think about, if you're a wholesaler, think about some of the wholesale houses you're buying. You're buying them from the guy that's 78 years old, and he's out there tinkering with it, hitting a hammer on it, and trying to re-rent it again. And he's just trying to keep that thing renting, and you come up to him, and it's a $50,000 property. He doesn't know anything on it. He says how much he wants, and he wants $32,000, and you beat him up and get it for $18,000. And that's what happens. And you don't want to be that guy. You want to be the guy that got the maximum and got the $50,000 out of it and traded that up into another discount by using cash into a bigger asset.
Yep.
Or to another house. And so that's the way you should be going. Anyway, man, let me stop, take a break, and let you ask the questions that you want the answer.
No. I mean, I think it's great. When you say you're trading up, are you doing a 1031 exchange, or are you just cashing out completely and then?
Yeah, I don't, because I've already sold them because they're on notes. So I use corporations and LLC strategies in order to avoid taxes. You have to figure out your strategy. I've got some students that they are doing 1031s, but I don't. I'm more of a corporation guy, and I my corporation pays for my living and pays for my lifestyle.
Okay.
And so that's the way I live. The cash is there, and the passive income is outside the corporation, and that keeps you from having to. It helps you beat the tax man.
Okay, so when you take over the debt and you basically are doing subject to wrap, how are you doing it when you don't take it over subject to? Are you buying houses cash? Like, how are you leaving your funding in there to owner finance around? Are you, that's one of the biggest problems I hear from new investors is they can't get the right type of funding to do owner financing to keep it in long term. They can raise hard money loans left and right, but they just don't have the ability to get the right funding, and that's where they're kind of stuck.
Okay, so what happens is you get out here, and I've done one hard money loan in my life, and it was with a friend. I'm not going to mention his name. I will mention his name. His name's Leon. Most people know him. He's been around for 20 years. I've known him for 20 years. I've only ever done one deal with him. I mostly use private money and things like that to get my money back out. or I try to get them to refinance. I just don't like the hard money loan rates. They'll eat you up if it's longer than short term. So you have to have a very short-term exit, either retailing it out or selling the note in order to get out of it. Note selling is different nowadays than it was when I started. There were institutional investors. There were a lot of them, Metropolitan, Associates, Bayview. I think Bayview may still be around. And so the financing was different. But that said, with doing it, what you're at, so how do you get stuff? So what you go out here, you do a deal. If you've got some money in it, I try not to put more money in than either the return on the cash is going to allow. So let me give you an example right now. What do you think of a deal? Okay, here's a deal I just did. I just had to reinstate a loan that was for $22,000. And that's another thing I don't like that's happening in Texas right now. These lenders are letting these houses get way too far behind. That's crazy. They used to only let them get about 4 or 5 months behind. They foreclosed. Man, now some of these loans I'm picking up are 15, 20. One of them was $40,000 behind the other day. But I just wired in $22,000 to catch up a loan. House sold, which is what my sub-3 technique is about, by the way. I like to have a house sold before I spend any money. It's the fastest way to keep yourself from going broke.
Yep.
So when I'm doing what you call a sub-2 deal, I call a sub-3 deal because my spin on it is I never, ever buy before I sell. And what that really means is I don't close, just like you do as a wholesaler, I don't close on the deal until I have my buyer, except I do that with sub-2 deals. When I first started in the business, in the very beginning, I did the opposite. I go and I contract to buy somebody's house. I deed it into the trust, take the loan subject to. It'd be $6,000 behind, and I would turn around and catch up to $6,000. And I'd put paint and carpet in it, and then I would turn around. So by the time it's all said and done, I'd have $10,000 in that house. And then I'd go owner finance it. Back then, I'd owner finance it, and I might get $3,000 or $5,000 down. And then I would turn around and I would cash flow it out. And that turned out to be a recipe for disaster because I was burying all sorts of cash into these deals. And I found out a few years later I would have been better off if I just would have buried that cash, chance to find it, because I buried it in all these houses, and it was sucking them up, and I was getting them back. I was selling them on contract for deeds and lease options, which were glorified rentals because I was doing too low of a down payment. And so what happened, I'd get them back, I'd turn them into rentals, and then I hated being a landlord, and it was finance all my houses out on a note and deed of trust, an actual owner finance. My life has been better ever since. So what I mean is, I take that $22,000. I know it's $22,000 behind. I have a marketing system that's unbelievable. I figured it out in 2003. I figured out in 2003 that I've been in the business for 5 years, and I did not know how to sell houses. Because when I came in the business, 97 to 2000, the market was going like it is now. It was so strong, I'd stick a sign in the front yard or run an ad in the Dallas Morning News. Yes, I know newspapers don't exist anymore. But I'd run an ad to be like Craigslist or 5 Mile or something today. And the house would be gone 2 days later. I thought I was a genius. I thought, and I know what I'm doing. I love this business. People would hand me $4,000, $5,000 down, and it's sold. But turns out I wasn't so much of a genius. We hit a little bit of a downturn in the telecom industry in 2001 in Dallas. I messed my sales process up. These houses back, and it was nuts. So what I do now is I have a selling system, and I'll go over it in a minute if you want me to. But I turn around, I contract to buy a house, I leave the loan in place. If it's behind, I tell them I'm not making any payments on that house until I find a buyer. I'm not doing anything. No money's coming out of my pocket. It ain't happening. And then occasionally you're going to have to say, well, I got to have money to move. Okay, fine. And I make them sign me a deed. They only get part of the money what they want, which is another thing I'm also finding. I used to didn't give sellers any money now, and I'm finding out in this particular market, there's a lot of entitlements. You have to kind of watch that, and so to pay too much for the equity, but some people do have some stupid equities, and you got to just write them a check, and there's nothing you can do.
Yep.
But there's a trick to doing that, by the way. I'll teach you that too in a minute. So you sign the house up, you go market it. If you got a good marketing system like I do, every house sells within 10 days. In fact, you have buyers waiting for you to get another house. Except the difference is what I call a buyer nowadays is different than what most I call a buyer. My buyers have typically $10, $15, $20, $25,000 to put down. And I don't do that $4,000 down thing. I just don't do it. It's the fastest way for me to get my house back. And somebody gives me $10,000, then they got 10,000 reasons why I'm going to sell to them. They give me $20,000, they're on my A list, you know. And a lot of people, I don't check credit. You got $20,000, I don't need to check your credit. You're going to make payments. Yep. You know, you tell me you can afford it, you can do it. And a lot of people laugh at me for doing that. But that's where the banks are getting it wrong. You get $3,000 down from somebody, well, hell yes, they're going to default on the house. At some point, they're going to give up the ghost. They only got $3,000 in it. So that's the difference in my system now. I get a large down payment. Once I have that buyer signed up and I got a deposit and close the deal, then I turn around and wire the money into the bank to catch it up. So now back to the original strategy. So $22,000, I know it's behind. I found a buyer for this particular house. Now I only got $15,000. But I got $15,000 of my money back, and now in this particular deal, I'm going to have $7,000 buried in the deal. Now, I do pay some commissions on some other things for employees and things on this, but if I were just one of you guys out there doing the deal, then I'd have $7,000 left in the deal, but I'm cash flowing $400 a month for 30 years.
Yep.
So that's kind of like a no-brainer deal, you know? $1,000, $400 a month. Now, where do you get the money? And so now, how could you get the money for that? You're getting $400 a month. If you were just in the absolute worst place, couldn't you call up somebody, a friend, and say, hey, man, if you'll give me $10,000, gives you a little money to eat on that month, $3,000 to eat on, and $7,000 to get your money back so you can go do another deal. And you say, I'll split the cash flow with you for the entire deal. Yep. Or you do like I do, and you sell off the payments if you need to. So if I had to get my $7,000 back, I might sell off, a year or 2 years payments at, 8, 9, 10, 12%. You know what I'm saying? Depending on where I'm at, who's got money available. And so you sell off just a little bit of payment stream. It's very risk because in Texas they're so fast. And then the other part of it is you have to collect very, very tight. I don't let my people get behind. Today is the 5th, and if I have anybody that hadn't paid, then we'll start getting hardcore. And somewhere between the 10th and the 15th, if they haven't paid, we start foreclosure. I'm not letting them get behind on my second mortgage, because it's a wrap, and it puts me in jeopardy. So that's kind of how I run my business. We do it. Now, the goal is, the truth is, what you're looking for, like this deal that I'm driving up to Oklahoma for, he's not behind. He can't make next month's payment. So maybe I can give him $2,000 to lease. Well, I'm going to owner finance it, and I don't even have to have any equity to do that deal. He told me that he owes like $150 on it, and it's worth $150. I don't care. I'll market it. The money's in the marketing. So I'll market that sucker for $160,000 or $159,900 takeover payments or must sell foreclosures, something to get traffic there. Somebody will give me 10,000 reasons to let them take over payments on the new loan that I created. Yeah. So so there'll be a spread. Pay him his $2,000, pocket $8, and I'll cash flow $300 or $400 a month. So, but I got two deals. The other deal I'm going to see is a low deal. It's probably a cash deal. He owes about $50, and by what he's saying, I think it's probably worth about $120, $130. And he doesn't really want anything. He just wants to be out too. But I don't know how much work the house needs. Yeah. So between these two deals, like I said, it was worth a little 2-hour flip up here. Until I can get somebody in place to start going out there for me, and then I'll pay commissions on that sort of thing. I take on trainees in different areas, and that's a lot of how I get a lot of my work done, because I try, for me, where I'm at in my life, I'm trying to do what I'm the best at, and that is more of a consulting type deal with my trainees. I have people in a trainee program, and I train them and I teach them, and I don't charge them, but they do deals with me for a period of time, and I get to make the money. They make some money too, and then after that time, they're on their own. But they still will have a mentor that will probably fund their deals later on. You know what I'm saying?
Sounds like a good deal. Is that just locally here in DFW, or do you do that for all around the country?
I'm starting to branch out. I'm testing out branching out. I'm actually got one guy that I'm branching out a couple hours away in Texas. Next week, I'm going to go actually try to recruit some about 8 hours away. I've got students all over the country that I've trained for years, because I used to sell horses and things. I've got a crazy course on the back end. I don't sell it anymore. It's just kind of there, and I use it as a bait to get people to come to my masterminds.
Yeah.
I love doing masterminds about 3 times a year with real estate people, and so I offer that to them in exchange of them coming to the mastermind, so that I can have more people. Masterminds are more, I do them more for love than I do for myself, because it keeps my brain going, you know what I'm saying? And I get to help people in the process. And I had a karate instructor, he's since passed, but he taught me, he says, that whatever it is you learn in life, and so my masterminds, I do them for the cost. I just did a mastermind with 20 students up in Tennessee, and they paid $900 to be there, and I rented 2 big men.
So we lost David there for a second, but we're back on board here, guys. He's driving to Oklahoma to get those deals. So we're gonna catch up right where he was at.
So I had the masterminds, and I just got back from one. I had 20 students. They all paid $900 a piece to be there. I hired a cook. I do all that kind of stuff, and with those masterminds, I think I made a net of $168 by putting that on. Like I said, I do it for the love, not for money, but it helps people and all that kind of stuff. So,
but you took that. Yeah, I mean, you took what you learned there, and everybody takes what they learn, and then they go out there and make the money with the knowledge and the wisdom that they pick up. So
go there, we learn, and I'm actually starting to learn. I've got several students that are buying mobile home parks now.
Yeah.
And I want to buy mobile home parks, and so I'm actually learning from them now. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of cool. Go ahead. So I don't know if I answered your question in full about where to get the money.
No, I mean, let's say someone takes over a house subject to, right, and then they have to sell the property on owner financing. What's a good strategy as far as marketing that deal for sale, and how are you acquiring these high down payment buyers?
Okay, so the way I do down payments, the way I get high down payments, is I have a system, and what the system is, it's a 2-step system, and basically everybody's doing it wrong, and I have proof because my system works. I looked at what realtors do, and I looked at what everybody else does, and realtors, they put so many what I call blocks in the process of getting a buyer. Like if you go to a house and you call on a house that a realtor has, then they want to set you an appointment. They want to qualify you. They want to do all this other stuff that gets in the way of the person seeing the house. The person just wants to see the house, and you're never going to sell a house unless they see it. And so what happens is those realtors that do that, they don't make as much money unless they're in a very high dollar avenue. So I turn that upside down, and I do it opposite. What I do is I set up a voicemail with that Bumber.com, and I set up a script, and the script basically says, hey, thanks for calling. I'm owner financing the house located in so-and-so. In fact, let me think of, here's a number to call. Now, this is for a mobile home, I believe, but it's the only number on top of my head right now. So I got 2 numbers. So here's one, 469-281-9019. And then the other number is 469-333-7824, I think. I think those two numbers are perimeter sign numbers for a house and a mobile home, I believe. But so what happens is I have perimeter signs out, and the perimeter signs are out. They're all in the Walmarts and all that kind of stuff. And these signs say owner finance, must sell, no banks. And then they have like basically what the house is, whether it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, or a 2-1, or a mobile home on land, whatever it is, that's on the sign. And then there's a reason for the people to call about the house. You know, some reason for them to call about the house, like the house might be on 2 acres. The house might have a huge kitchen. Even the house being a fixer-upper, that is a marketing thing. For wholesalers, what you would do, you wouldn't say owner finance, of course, because you're trying to wholesale. So you would turn around and you would change the sign up, and it would say 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, must sell, all cash, and you would do something like vultures pick my bones. Thieves of the night steal my house. Kick me while I'm down. And then you would put something like, this house over 40K below market, this house over 30K below market. And then put a phone number. And that phone number leads to a voicemail. Okay? And on that voicemail, I never tell them more than 3 things. In my situation, I tell them it's owner financing. I explain that to them several times. It's owner financing, no banks, don't care about your credit. I tell them where the house is 2 or 3 times, and I tell them that it's not going to last long. Those are the 3 things I got to get to them. The address, the owner finance. In a wholesale realm, you're going to get to them that the house is not going to last long, it's a cash deal and it's not going to last long, that the house needs work, and here's the address, and here's the address, and here's the address. And tell them how much work it needs on the phone, so you don't waste your time. You know, I think this house might need X amount of work. So then you send them to the house. I send them, and so now they can't talk to me. With my perimeter signs out everywhere, and on an average house, I put out 40 perimeter signs. They can't talk to me. They just get the voicemail. I don't text message back to that voicemail. I don't answer calls because I don't want to talk to, in my case with the owner finance stuff, I don't want to talk to the guy that's pissed off his landlord. I don't want to talk to the guy that's too stupid to find the house. That conversation on the phone trying to give somebody directions. If you can't GPS it nowadays or figure out where the house is, I don't want to talk to you. Get them to the house. Now they're at the house. When they be 2 or 3 signs in front of the house, one usually nailed to the house, one in the window of the house, and 2 or 3, maybe 4, a couple signs in the front yard, staked in the ground. And that house has a live phone number to either me or nowadays, both cases, one of my people that are working for me, and handle the call, and they only have one job and one job only. See, most people make a mistake right here. What they do is they start talking about money. The caller calls in and says, well, how much do you want down? Well, have you seen the house yet? No. Well, go inside and take a look at the house. Oh, okay. And so they go in and take a look. If you're a wholesaler, your only job is to get them in the house. Nobody's going to buy something they haven't seen. And if they do, that's not very smart. I've done that before, and it wasn't very smart. So I'm telling you right now, it's not very smart, okay? So other people, you got to think like the normal person, though. So even if you were some big-wig investor and you had too much money, you could buy houses you haven't seen. The regular guy is not going to do that. Your regular guy that's buying a house to fix up and rent, or your regular guy that's buying a house to owner finance to live in for himself, he's not going to buy a house that mama ain't seen. It ain't going to happen. So you got to get them in the house. If he goes in the house or she goes in the house, but once the woman likes the house, they're going to buy it. Once the guy that has money thinks it's a good deal, he's going to buy it. He's going to figure out how. And consequently, I don't fix my houses. I don't do fix-up work, by the way. I'm not a fix-up guy. I'm not a repair guy. There's no money in it. I don't believe, unless I was going to make 5X, actually probably more like 10X my money, I don't believe in fix-up. I don't see the point, because if you put $10 in, you should get $100 out. Yep. At the very least, like I said, 5X, 50. So for me, it's better value. I will sell to somebody that wants to fix it up. But I'm not going to sell the sharks out there. The shark guys I don't sell to. See, that's not my market. I learned in the T-shirt business, my uncle taught me. He kept telling me I was doing business wrong, and I kept ignoring him. And until finally I went out of business, and then I realized he wasn't so dumb. I thought he was a dumb country guy, because he had land and cows. I thought he didn't know what he was talking about. And he kept telling me, David, you're running your T-shirt business wrong. I said, I know what I'm doing. Leave me alone, Uncle Johnny. Well, it turned out he was right. Took me a few years to learn before I went broke. But what it is that if you sell to the same people in your industry, you're selling to another guy with a fin on his back. That guy with a fin on his back is going to get the best price. You can't sell to that guy. You got to go to a different market. You got to go out there to the regular retail market. Yep. And so, you want to sell your fixer-upper to the guy who's having what I call he's having an amnesia right now, and he wants to be in the rental business. He owns a roofing company, and he wants to be in the rental business. He owns a carpet company, and he wants to be in the rental business. And he has some subs that he can hire them to fix it up. And you're doing him a favor because in the long run, he'd never get a house at that kind of discount. But you're not going to give him as big a discount as you would the other guy. You know what I'm saying? The shark guy, the shark infested guy, you're going to be lucky to get out of there without some teeth marks.
Yeah.
And so this is what I've learned. So I'm marketing to the retail crowd. That's why my system works. So when they come there, they get in front of the house, they call me. They're always going to want to talk about numbers, and I don't want to talk about numbers till they're inside the house. Once they go inside, I say go inside the house. Once you see inside, call me right back, and we'll talk numbers. They argue with me sometimes a little bit. They argue with my people sometimes a little bit. But we turn around and say, look, guys, you're not going to buy a house you haven't seen. Just go look, see if you like it. And if you like it, I'll talk about anything you want. So then that's settled. Now, here's the next thing. I don't use lock boxes. I don't use lock boxes. Did you hear that? My doors are unlocked. Been doing it since 2003. Ain't never had nothing stolen, nothing done. And if it was, so what? We'd fix it.
Yep.
Damage the house. You still hear me?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I can hear you.
It said it was ringing. So I don't use lock boxes because what I figured out with lock boxes, again, it was the same thing. I had to talk to stupid people. And I don't want to spend 20 minutes having to explain to somebody how to get in a lock box or to put the key back. So in the very beginning of this, in 2003, when I figured out my system for selling, I would hide about 8 keys at the property, literally 8 keys. Every time I buy a house, I'd go to Home Depot, I'd make 8 keys. I have a box of keys that would just drive you mad. Keys never disappear. I don't know why. But I have a box of keys. I'd make 8 keys for every house. I'd hide one under a rock, one under a bush, one in the mailbox. So that way I'd turn around and say, no, key's not there. Oh, yeah, that's right. I put it over here. Go look over there. So I can get people in the house. But it turns out that with my system, I drive so much traffic to a property. I drive, on a typical week, we're going to have 75 people to a property. In fact, so much that I almost will not sell a property that has a person in it. 98% of the properties I deal with are vacant already. If they're not vacant, I wait till they are. I don't want to sell a property that has people in it because I'm driving too much traffic. It has to be a really good deal for me to do that. So sometimes I'll sign one up, and they'll say something like, well, we won't be out of here for another month. I said, that's okay, that's fine. But if your house gets foreclosed between now and then, there's nothing I can do. It's harder for me to sell an occupied house than a vacant house. Now, on occasion, I might already have a couple, 2 or 3 buyers that I'll run over there and see if they like it. But other than that, I'm not going to drive massive traffic to an occupied house in 90% of the cases. There are 10% out there that I will drive traffic to. And that's if I feel comfortable with the people, that they're not going to sabotage my deal, that they're actually going to let the people in. But on a typical week, I'm going to drive 70 people to the house. That's during the week, Monday through Thursday. On a typical weekend, Friday through Sunday, I'm going to drive upwards to 150 people to the house. A minimum of 100, but about 150 with with my system. So if you can understand the difference, if I'm getting close to 150, 200 people there a week, well, that's why I'm able to sell houses so fast. A lot of my houses, I sold one house in 2 hours. I've had plenty of days where I've sold two houses in the same day from one marketing deal. Because one situation was I had a house we picked up. We actually didn't start marketing this till Sunday. We made a mistake. Well, we didn't make a mistake. We were just lazy. Let me call it what it was. So we didn't market the house till Sunday. So we started marketing the house on a Sunday. We should have been marketing on a Friday. Started marketing on a Sunday, and on that Sunday afternoon, we had more traffic than we knew what to do with, and there were literally at the house 30 or 40 people. The house is only about 3 blocks from. We headed over there, and had a couple people stand there. Well, I'll give you $5,000 down. You're not going to sell this house because of this, this, and this. Okay, that's great. Whatever. You hear a lot of that. A lot of people trying to beat your house up. I don't listen to those people anymore. Somebody's going to buy my house if you got a price right. And lo and behold, 15 minutes later, in the same group, there's a lady, she wanted the house. She gave me $16,000 down that day, that Sunday. Wrote me a check for $16,000. Wow. So at the same place where I had those people, I had some other people, they only had $5,000 as well. But they would need a place to move. They couldn't afford that place. That place was too expensive. Well, I had just contracted to buy a double wide on land. And I was buying it for $35,000, and I was going to sell it. It needed work, and this particular one, mobile homes are different. I do the work in those because typically in the lower echelon, the people don't have as much money to fix up stuff. So I usually go ahead and fix those up a little bit, at least with their livable standards. So we were going to fix that one. It was going to cost about $8,000 repairs. She wanted it as is. It should have sold for $75,000 at the time. We sold it to her for $65,000 as is with $5,000 down. And that's another thing, by the way. When I'm discounting repairs, I don't discount like y'all discount. I don't discount repairs based on the way we think. I discount repairs based on the way they think.
Yeah.
So, in other words, I want to sell my discounts based on what the materials cost. Their labor, they don't charge you for their labor. Yeah. So that's another thing that's different about what I do. So if I'm discounting a house, let's say it's a $100,000 house, and you and I know that it needs $20,000 repairs by the time we buy labor and materials, well, that house is still a $95,000 house to me. Yeah. I'm going to sell it for $94,900 with owner financing. I'm not going to discount it very much. And with the same way, if your wholesaler moves to a different group, that's going to increase their income. So I get the people in the house, they come out, they say they want the house, and then I set a meeting. My favorite office is Whataburger. Most of my meetings are at Whataburgers. So, all the people in the Whataburgers, they know me. I go to them a lot, and sometimes I'll have literally 4 or 5 meetings stacked up at the same Whataburger all day long. Kind of crazy, bring the same cup in over and over. So that's it. There's not, I'm driving traffic. I'm getting in the house. I leave the door unlocked, so they can go right in. I'm driving so much traffic. The story that we tell them when they go, we say, well, hey, the door's unlocked. Go in there and take a look. Don't lock it. I've got some other people coming to take a look. Or my contractor is around the corner to come take a look at it. If they think somebody else is coming, they're not going to steal anything. And here's what I tell people. I even have a couple students. They steal boxes. They keep arguing with me. But here's what I tell them. If somebody's a thief and they're going to steal your shit, guess what? They're going to break a window to steal your shit. They're going to get your shit anyway. So it doesn't matter. The lockbox doesn't matter. Yeah. So a thief's a thief. The last house I marketed, it had 4 bicycles, a piano, some kind of oxygen medical tanks, some old carpet, and a whole bunch of clothes. And I just wish somebody would have stolen it. Because it gets to a point after house, you no longer want any more junk. You collect it all.
Well, when you look at it so you have to leverage in your time, guys. So that's a really good point he gave you there, because I actually filmed a video on our YouTube channel, David, talking about this, that you don't need to go out and show the property. You don't need to lock it, because if you do have something stolen or something damaged, you should have insurance in the first place. But take your hourly wage of how much time it takes you to go out there and let people in and back and forth. And then for the one time out of, thousands that something happens, compare that to how much it's going to cost you to fix it. You're giving up so much money. It's not even worth it. So you shouldn't really be worried about that. And as far as him pointing out, he gave a great example earlier talking about how to, back into his S3 deal when he's talking about leaving 22,000 versus 7,000 in, and it just creates extra leverage so you can do multiple deals with the same cash that you had out of pocket, so you can scale quickly. I think that you gave us a great episode today, to be honest. I mean, we went over a ton of stuff. We went over Bandit signs. We went over subject to deals and the way you do it, kind of reversing into it, bring in buyer first, which I think is, basically one of the best ways I've heard of how to do it. And then we talked about your sales system. How do they get a hold of you if they want to, be one of your mentees or get one of your programs, or even come meet up with you at Whataburger and buy you lunch sometime? I like to,
all right.
Yeah, I mean, I like to get
my email is E as in egg, Z as in zebra, life, LIF as in Frank, E, so EC Life at davidalexander.com.
All right, guys.
And so, yeah, hit me with an email.
Yeah, we'll put all his information here below and on iTunes, guys, and we'll put this out there. And man, David, I was impressed with today. You gave a lot of good information. I think just a couple of little quick nuggets, put them out at Walmart, guys. That's a good little nugget there. If you get a deal doing that around the country, why don't you let David know and thank him? Send him a coupon to Whataburger, right, for a sweet and spicy burger or something. I don't know what burger he gets, but I appreciate you coming on. And guys, I'll see you on the next episode.